going on, everybody? Welcome to the Way of the World podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Bodega, and if it looks brighter in here, it's because it is. And I'm working on my lighting, I'm working on my editing. Everything is going to look crisp and clean because y'all support me, and I just want to show y'all what I'm doing with the money that y'all are giving to me. I appreciate it. I never asked for it. You can always join Patreon if you want to, but you never have to. I appreciate all of my supporters in whatever way that you support me, whether you like the podcast, you share it with your friends, you rate it on Apple Podcasts, buy merch, whatever you want to do or don't want to do. I appreciate your support. I hope you come back, and I thank you for tuning in with me today. Now, the title of this episode is going to be called Bodybuilder Gets Married to a Sex Doll, just because that's one of the eye-catching things that I saw, and it'll probably get your attention too. But first, we're going to talk about Jake Paul versus Nate Robinson, just because of all the memes that have been splurged all over the internet. Just saw another one today with the baby hanging out with Jake Paul, and they were both laying on the ground. Hilarious. I think Jake Paul should actually fight somebody that is his size, though. That is all I'm going to say. Nate Robinson is shorter than my mother, and my mother thinks that she's a tall woman, and she's standing at 5'5". So with that being said, I'm going to put a meme here and a meme here. If you're just listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, go check it out on YouTube. I'm trying to work with my graphics, and you'll just see the images as I'm talking. You can laugh at them just like I did. But like I said, Jake Paul is a YouTuber who is like trying to be a fitness guru, I guess. But Jake Paul is like my height. I am 6 foot. Nate Robinson was a little taller than... He was tall enough to jump over Dwight Howard, obviously, but all of them basketball accolades went out the window once he was laying on that floor. And I'm going to put the meme up here again. And then the fight that ensued, that one, was Mike Tyson versus Roy Jones. And I was just happy to hear Mike Tyson talk again. I'm not going to make fun of it publicly, but when he said ASS, not gonna cuss either, I started crying laughing. Like I said, never gonna make fun of a man with a list whose hands are also registered weapons. Couldn't be me. But while Roy Jones and Mike Tyson were fighting, it looked like two uncles arguing at a barbecue over who gets the grill. Because, Uncle Johnny over here, he's been cooking for like 20 years. But then we have Uncle Lenny over here. He's new to the game. He's working on his sauces, but he knows the smoke technique, and it's just a whole thing. But when they ended it in a tie, I was dying laughing. The whole fight, because it was a bunch of just like this. Anytime they got tired of hitting each other, they just laid on each other's shoulders, like, oh, are we going again? All right, cool. I don't know. I think because the Jake Paul and Nate Robinson thing happened so fast, and everybody was like blowing it out of proportion, to me, just because neither one of them are boxers, and we were watching it like they were professional boxers. Neither here nor there, but happy to see Mike Tyson. I would be deathly scared to get back in. And you saw at the end, when Roy was like, I was just happy to be back out here, after 3 years, blah, blah, blah. And Mike was like, oh, we're going to do it again. Don't worry. And I was like, all right, Mike, go ahead and do it. Speaking of... Sorry, I had to get to it. Speaking of someone who needed to catch hands, there was this woman who was in her apartment making a TikTok video, and this man comes into her apartment while she's filming. Um, this stalker, if you will. She asked, "Who are you?" And the man responded with, "Am I your friend?" Sir, absolutely you are not. Get out. She ran across the hall to her neighbor, who was a godsend for letting her in. Um, just like, I'm glad she posted that because I would have been traumatized. But the person who broke in also would have caught the one too. That's why, we all should strive to own a home. That way it's less likely for someone to just walk into your place of living. And the fear that like consumed her, that I know women deal with fear on a daily basis. And I don't fully understand because I'm a male, but I try my best to understand as much as possible because women go through so much stuff that they don't even talk about. Love y'all. I pray for y'all all the time. But when I saw that, like my heart jumped because it looked like a scene out of a scary movie, but it was just on TikTok. So, it was like real life. Like there wasn't no cut at the end of it. And that was just, whew, would have gave him an old one too. Like, you want to come in? I have the right to defend myself in my own home. It wouldn't have been no leaning like in the Tyson fight. You would have caught the quick. It would have looked like the movie Real Steel. Speaking of Real Steel, now we got to it. So this bodybuilder got married to his sex doll. Yuri Tolochko has been living with a doll named Margot for a year and a half, and he proposed to her in December of 2019. The controversial couple tied the knot following delays due to COVID-19. Now, if that ain't a sign that you shouldn't get married to an object. Okay. All right. So, their wedding is legal. Don't know how. He and it live in Kazakhstan, and he is quoted saying, "Our story turns beyond much more than sex itself. I also love BDSM. I love being tortured and can endure a lot of pain. I love to dominate too. Margot is capable of what other people are not capable of." Sir, you are having sexual intercourse with a USB port, a Apple charging dock, if you will, not the cable, just the dock. Yeah, don't know. This man Yuri also identifies himself as a pansexual and can fall in love with a character, an image, a soul, just a person. These are his quotes, not mine. But sir, that is not a person. I know it's hard out here in these, COVID streets, but there's how many billion? There's like 7 billion people in the world. There's somebody out there for you. I promise. And he's a good looking dude. He's a bodybuilder. Maybe you just need to work on here before you work on here or here, sir. Please excuse yourself. You're gonna have to take her to Best Buy to get her some WD-40 when you get done pumping too much. I'm sorry. That was that's just where my mind goes, and I apologize. Seems like can't do an episode without Florida man, but this time it is Florida woman, and I'm just gonna read the headline just as it is, just because I can't make this up. Florida woman arrested after using ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend's info to set up fake dating profile to offer free meth. So she was using his new girlfriend as an alias to try to sell meth, or not even sell, just give meth away. Vanessa Huckabee has been arrested after she was caught using her ex-boyfriend's new girlfriend info to set up a fake dating profile. In the profile's bio, Huckabee advertised free meth tonight, in addition to multiple strangers arriving at the victim's residence, blah, blah, blah. So, impersonation and all cyber harassing and cyber stalking and intent to sell. I guess if she didn't have anything physically with her, intent to sell, posting a $5,000 bond. I think that's crazy, but what do I know? I'm just gonna, this is a little freestyle just because when one Florida thing pops up, all the Florida things pop up. This happened earlier in November. Florida man pulls gun on driver who told him he had a small penis. Oh, so I used to, for a short period of time, I used to drive Uber, and the thing that set it off for me, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but it was one of those things where, you know, I couldn't not do it and say I didn't like it. So the one thing that happened for me is a woman almost threw up in my car, and that was enough for me. Also, where I'm at in Nashville, I would go downtown a lot and have random people getting in my car and having to literally force them out of my car, taking my keys out the engine, because if some drunk person took my car while I was trying to Uber, I would lose my mind. I would sue. I would want to own Uber. Dustin Coons, the 21-year-old Florida man, pulled a gun on a driver who said he had a small penis. Okay. Now, Keaton, who was the driver, told Coons, "You must have a small DICK," which led to Coons pulling out a Smith & Wesson handgun. What is this, like the 1930s? Did he pull it out of his holster? And did he have like twin pistols? Like, were they 6-shooters? Who? Never mind. $33,000 bond. Wow, that's crazy. I'm just gonna leave it at that. I don't like every episode being about Florida, but we're also going to talk about this restaurant owner who was filmed confronting a group of black women for twerking in his establishment. Now, y'all know that I work at a restaurant. I've been working in restaurants since I was 17 years old. Let me just preface this with this. A restaurant is not a club. A club is not a restaurant. A club can serve food, but it is not a restaurant. A bar is a restaurant, but it is not a club. A bar can be a club, but a club is not a restaurant, nor will it ever be a restaurant. Therefore, you do that where it is allowed. Now, I'm not gonna give the manager who walked up to them and confronted them the way that they did, because he's quoted, and I said I'm gonna bleep out all the cuss words. All this twerking HIT. Don't bring it in here because we're a restaurant. If you want to do it, get the F out of my restaurant. Don't do it again. I don't want to hear it. If you don't like it, get out because I don't need your money. Now, that is no way to talk to any guest. I've dealt with plenty of guests, black, white, Asian, Mexican, any ethnicity that you can think of. I've more than likely dealt with it before. Not even dealt with, but just given service to before. And this is not how you talk to somebody. And devil's advocate, why y'all twerking next to the mashed potatoes? Like, y'all just be better. Y'all know how's the server supposed to get to the table and drop off your martini if you listening to 400 Degrees by Juvenile. Like, don't, there's a place and time for everything. Please, just be better. That way we all don't get grouped in as, ratchet black people. But on the side of the restaurant, know who you're hiring as a manager. That way they know how to talk to people, regardless of the situation. Doesn't matter if they were twerking, even if they were just having a loud birthday party and he had to come over there and tell them to, just quiet it down to respect the rest of the guests in the restaurant. Come on, bruh. Come on, bruh. What else do we got on the docket today? Where is that, actually? Y'all have got enough of me today. Thank y'all for tuning in to another episode of the Wave of the World podcast. I've been your host, Jacob Bodega. I'm planning to do an extra episode this month, just for a Christmas episode. Just stay tuned to both my Instagrams, Jacob Bodega and the Wave of the World podcast. If you have any questions, queries, comments, concerns, or you want to buy some merch, DM me. I'm coming out with some more merch after Christmas. Yep, so stay tuned for that. Other than that, last thing, I want to challenge everyone to intellectually spar with someone this week. And what I mean by intellectually spar is not to challenge someone's beliefs, but just to have a semi-logical conversation about what's going on in the world, how it affects the world, the U.S., how it affects, Europe, Asia, Africa, and then how it affects you specifically, whether you're white, black, Asian, Latino, whatever your nationality is. But I feel like as a people, we can be better as long as we continue to have conversations with each other, because if we've learned anything in the pandemic, is learning how to communicate with one another helps us progress into what we all want to accomplish, which is to be better versions of ourselves. With that being said, I love you, and I am out. Thanks for listening. I appreciate all of your support. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. You can find me here at Wave of the World Podcast on YouTube. You can also find me on any podcast platform. If you have any questions, thoughts, or suggestions, please send them to waveoftheworld19@gmail.com. And this beat is provided by Terminal Beats.